without food?
Woo, I haven't even had breakfast yet, you guys. Who needs food, man? Who needs food when you have a beautiful
Inspiration.
wife
Oh
and
gosh. I ate.
inspiration?
I ate for both
Oh,
of us.
she
Just
ate for
kidding, I
both of
didn't.
us, so she's good. I just got to share this. I'm training for those mountains, right? So I'm going to give you some principles here, and I
Wait,
hope
should we just start? Like what?
that we're like, oh wait, yeah, we're good, we're going, I'm just
Oh, you
diving in.
did record?
Yeah, I hit it. It's recording.
Oh,
We're going.
okay, great.
So there's principles here. When you have a target, like it gives you motivation and inspiration. It gives you drive. Some often like you'll find if I'm like, well, yeah, I'll just work out, and you're just working out just cause.
Just because you're supposed to work out.
Just cause, like, yeah, because you're supposed to, like, you don't have near the drive and motivation that you do if you have a specific target. But in having a target or an aim, right, which is one of the 7 things that every man needs, but guess what? Every woman needs an aim too. So every human needs an aim and a target, but targets like help us, they empower us, they give us way more to work with. And so having this aim, having a target, for me, I have these big mountains I'm going to climb. And Rachel has now decided to come with me.
Which I think I'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Right
and
now?
Just
No,
wrote
you
an
finish.
amazing article about it. So good. Anyways, okay.
Finish your thought.
So having the aim now is pushing me to do things I wouldn't normally do. So normally I'd go out, I'd go for a run, have a workout. Boom, right? It's good. But now knowing I have to train for the mountain, I went out in like 25-degree weather this morning in a t-shirt with a 20-pound vest on, and I ran for 2 miles. And then came back and did some muscle training. And it was awesome. And then I took a freezing cold shower. I take cold showers every day, but man, they're cold in the winter.
When it's cold outside.
Oh yeah, it's cold outside and the water is just really cold. It is frigid. Oh my goodness. So it was good. And then this is my 3rd coaching session this morning. I'm all over it, people, getting things done before some people are even out of bed. Good morning. And you guys can turn on your cameras. I know maybe the morning ones you're like, nobody's turning on the camera. We didn't get ready for this. But
well, should I talk about my thing?
Talk about your journey.
So I really like what he said here, because there is, and we have noticed this many times throughout our life. Like we're all about, doing the things you're supposed to be doing because you're supposed, because those are the things that help you live a great life, like working out and reading and input and, all the habits and routines. All of those are awesome, but there is a big difference when you have what we keep calling it now is an aim, a noble aim. When you have a goal, a target that you're working on, there is a huge difference. And we're saying this from experience because it's happening again. There is a big difference when you have that aim that you're working on in the just the drive, the energy, the motivation. Like it's just amped up, it's elevated when you have that aim that you're working for. The other side of that is, okay, because having a noble aim can also be very scary, right? It can be frightening. It can be terrifying. And this is the article he was talking about that I just wrote, because
perhaps, can I pause there? Perhaps it's big enough when it is scary.
Right. I think that's true. That is a clue. You know that you're on to your path when what you're considering doing is frightening. And we're, naturally like, no, I don't want to do that. That's scary. I don't want to do something scary, right? So I was going through this whole process, and there's different layers. There's all kinds of layers of what's scary here. And so if you guys don't know yet, we've talked about it some, we're planning to drive through Mexico again and then go to Guatemala so that we can fix up our homestead that we have there, property we have there that's just at this point sitting vacant, doing nothing. So we're going to fix it up and then sell it, rent it, something like that, so we can use that. And with the plan then being moving towards our chateau in France, right? Our big dream. Well, that requires a lot of things. That requires, at one point, we thought giving up this place we have here. It requires traveling during COVID. It requires, crossing borders again, which we've done before. But in some ways, I feel like, the world's changed, right? It's different now because it is different. The post-COVID world. It requires, giving up. Well, this is what I wrote in my article. Like, we've been in this house for, I guess it's almost 18, well, maybe 18 months, 12 to 18 months in this house. And it's fascinating what being in a place like a house does to you. Like, you settle into comfort, right? The known, the familiar, like it's just, it's so nice. And I love it. That is more my thing, right? Greg's more the uncertainty. I'm more the certainty, right? Of the human needs. So it's scary to think about giving those things up after we haven't done them for so long, right? We've been in quarantine. We've been living at home. We've been doing a normal life. So the idea of going out into the unknown again, and all of this comes from the hero's journey. It is the hero's journey. This call to adventure, going out into the unknown to face the unknown, right? That is a natural, normal, okay. That is the process for finding, it's not natural and normal. That is the process for finding meaning in life. That is the process for achieving your goals and dreams. And going back to this idea that if it frightens you, that's actually a good thing. Because if it wasn't scary, well, then everybody would do it. And, it wouldn't be a hero's journey, because a hero's journey transforms you. It has to change you. It has to call forth the best in you. And in order to do that, it has to be something that is above your current levels and requires you to rise to the challenge. So then the other part of it is, well, great. My daughter who's 14, she's like, oh, well, I want to go skydiving, in Mexico. And Greg has these mountains he wants to climb. There's one in Mexico. It's Orizaba. It's what, 18,000?
18 and a half.
18 and a half. Then we're going to Ecuador, and there's one there that's over 19,000 feet. And my initial inclination for all of this is like, no. But I realized that something interesting happened. Is when I did that, I started to feel more afraid, because I realized the real reason I was opting out of doing them was because I was afraid. And there's something very fascinating that happens with fear. Fear, it's literally like a virus. When it gets you, it just spreads. Okay? Unless you kill it, fear spreads. And it infects your heart and your mind. And then not only are you afraid of the initial thing you were afraid of, which maybe is, legitimate, you start to become afraid of everything else too. So the other night I was laying awake and I realized, like, wow, I'm like afraid of all these things. I'm thinking of all these worst case scenarios of, what if we can't cross the border? What if we get COVID? What if we, all these things. I'm like going through all these fears in my mind, which there's a difference between recognizing potential obstacles and figuring out a way to manage them versus just feeling afraid, right? Like gripping fear. And so I realized that there's only one thing you can do when you face those fears, or when you have those fears, and that is to face them. Like, you have to just face them. And this is psychologically sound. Like, this is what clinical psychologists do to deal with people who have fears, is they figure out what the fear is, and then they help them gently face those fears. Because when you face them,
or abruptly,
well, sometimes, yeah, like Tony Robbins, he does. When you face those fears, that's the only way to get rid of the fear. As long as you continue to make excuses for it, or ignore it, or pretend it's not there, or whatever else, okay, you're not actually facing the fear. You're just trying to cover it up. And as long as you just cover up the fear, it won't go away, and it will continue to grow. And the more you do that, the stronger your fear becomes.
Who's noticed that? Who's felt that before? Like, as long as you keep it at a distance from you, the fear gets stronger and stronger. And that thing that maybe you even used to do it before, How many of you have experienced that? I know I have. It's something you used to do regularly that never intimidated you. Now the thought of doing it, you've kept it at a distance for so long, the thought of doing it actually terrifies you. You know, it might be you used to be able to speak to a crowd, or you used to be able to go introduce yourself to people you didn't know, and you used to be able to go to these places regularly. You went all the time, and now you're like, gosh, I feel terrified. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go. I don't want to face that. And the things we keep at a distance become scarier and scarier until and they grow. So they
And
get
that
bigger
part of
and they spread.
that part of you becomes stronger. So the fearful side of you, because all of us have it, we all have the courage and the fear. Like the fear, you know, we're brave and we're afraid. We have both parts of us. But the part that becomes stronger is the part that we feed, and we feed it by not facing it, by avoiding it, by, you know, allowing ourselves to continue to be afraid. So we have to face it. So I was like, okay, gosh, I'm afraid of these things. I don't want to go skydiving. I don't want to climb to 19,000 feet on a mountain. Like, I don't. But I realized that I was afraid. And so I'm like, okay, I have to do them because I am afraid of them. So I made the commitment. And then I started training. And it's amazing what happened, because the energy I had that was driving my fear now turns into energy that's driving my focus, right? It's driving my training. It's driving my motivation. It's driving my confidence. So the energy's there, right? We have energy. We are energy. Now, how we direct that energy is up to us. If we allow that energy to be directed towards our fear, then that will grow. But if we allow our energy, or we choose to have our energy directed towards facing those fears, that's what will grow, and then we become stronger.
Booyah! I'm taking notes from this.
Yeah,
This is amazing. Jeez. Are you taking notes? I hope you're capturing some big ahas here, some huge insights. Whoa.
Yeah.
So she leaned into this now, and she's conquering some big old fears.
And now I've like told people, so I have to do it.
Oh, it's out now. And we're going to go create some absolutely extraordinary memories together. And we're setting an example for our children of how to do life. We're setting an example, well, we're for the people, like for this tribe, right? We want to lead out and like, hey guys, we're facing our fears. We're doing things that intimidate us. We're chasing our dream so that you chase your dream, not that you chase our dream, right? No, you don't have to climb mountains. You don't have to travel. You don't do anything. But we want to authentically say, like we're doing things that intimidate us. We're taking risks, because otherwise, if we just sink into this comfort and security
or risk avoidance,
yeah, then we get in these avoidance patterns that becomes our strong suit. We get really competent at avoiding, and that's no way to live.
Well, because the reality is the only way to have real meaning in life is by taking the risks. It's when we avoid those risks that we remain where we are, and that's when we feel dissatisfied. That's when we feel like something's missing. That's when we feel like we have more potential that we're not reaching and we're not using. And so our life becomes just this, well, you know, the rat race is the perfect metaphor for that. It just becomes this meaningless pursuit of what? Nothing meaningful. So it lacks purpose. It lacks significance. And the only way to find that significance is by pursuing our noble aim, pursuing that thing that's within us, that's calling to us, that's saying, yeah, it's exciting. Because there's the other element of it. There is that exciting element to it, right? If it was only fearful, we wouldn't do it at all. So there's the excitement, the
payoff, the reward,
the exotic draw, the I don't what you
The
know, it
the
just calls
appeal,
the
yeah.
appeal. There's that appeal to it. And what happens is we think of something that's appealing or drawing or calls to us, and then it's our fear that says, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't afford it. I can't pay for it. I can't get in good enough shape. I can't, fill in the blank." That's what happens. We feel that appeal. We feel the draw, and we deny it because of our fears. And that's when our life loses its significance and its meaning because we're not living true to ourselves. Those things are there for a reason. It doesn't happen on accident that you get inspired or excited or motivated about something, some sort of idea. We have little people knocking. Okay, that's not an accident. That is, in fact, if you want to get kind of cool here, it's kind of a metaphysical idea, but it's actually also a psychological idea. How many of you feel that potential is a real thing, like your own potential, or say for your children, like your children's potential? Do they have a potential that you know is there? Put it in the chat. Like the idea of potential, is that a real idea to you? Or is it something that, do you think about that? Do you act on that? Or is it something that drives you? Does that make sense? Because I want you to understand this idea of potential is more powerful than you realize. Because we think of potential as who we can become, our future best self, right? Like we see our children and we're like, oh, I know they have so much potential. They could do this thing, or they could be like this, or they could, they have this skill. If only they would do these things, then they could fulfill that potential, right? We all know what I'm talking about here. Yes? I'm getting some yeses. Okay. But if you really think about that, what is potential really? It doesn't exist. It's not like concrete. I can't touch it. I can't feel it. I can't look at it. It's simply this idea of who we could become in the future. Now, going back to this kind of metaphysical idea or psychological idea, there is actually this belief or this reality that our potential future self is communicating. Like, this sounds weird, but this is like psychologically sound actually. Our potential future best self is communicating with our current self through the things that interest us and inspire us and call to us. Okay, so let this sink in for a minute.
Not in a weird way. It's
Not
all
in a weird way.
It's all
This is-
happening between your conscious and your subconscious mind.
Yes, exactly. Because potential is a thing that exists. It really does. Okay, and all human beings act as though potential exists. Like my future potential exists. Your child's future potential exists. And it is our belief in these potentials that motivate our actions, right? To inspire each other, to guide each other, to get an education, to work, to save for the future. It's all because of this idea of this future potential. Now, the way that we can best tap into fulfilling that potential is by paying attention to the things that interest, inspire, call. What's another adjective word to describe that? Those things that like just connect with you in a certain way. And we all know they're all different for all of us. Okay. What calls to me might not be the same thing that calls to him or calls to you, but we know it when we see it or we experience it or we hear about it. Right? So a book that we're like, oh, I'm super interested in this book, or I'm super interested in this idea. We have to learn to pay attention to those things because those are the things that are leading us on the path to becoming our future best self. Now, that might seem a little esoteric there, a little crazy, but it is actually true. This is very psychologically sound. It's kind of metaphysical as well, but this is how potential is reached and achieved. by learning to listen to that and tap into it and follow it and not be afraid of pursuing it, because it is meant to be a little bit scary, and that's okay.
And that's where so many of us get hung up, because it's in the responding to it. It's like, oh, I feel this call, and you're like, gosh, I really should pursue that. And as soon as that thought comes, I should follow this. Oh man, then the mind starts going, wait,
All the
all these
objections.
risks, all these fears, all these sacrifices, all this craziness. And many of us stop before we even start. And so we don't realize our full potential. We kind of get stuck. And right? We all know how that feels, right? That unrealized potential. Ooh. In fact, I've said for years, the greatest tragedy in the world is when a wonderful and powerful human being like you, like us, fails to reach their full potential. That's the greatest tragedy. And then the greatest success is when a wonderful human being is chasing potential.
Yeah, pursuing. Well, I'm
Pursuing
glad
it.
you worded it that way, because it's not necessarily the achievement of your full potential. That's
just-
not success. It's when you are actually pursuing it.
Pursuing it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
So let's ask some questions. I'm just dying to ask you some questions. What are your noble aims right now?
Or what are some of the things that are interesting you, inspiring you,
Calling
to you,
beckoning from your
Like,
future.
This is one way I like to explain it in one of its simplest forms. Like, this doesn't have to be complex. Have you ever like looked at through a magazine or watched something on YouTube or like anything, and there's something that will just stand out to you and that you'll be like, wow, that's cool. Okay. Maybe it's a picture of some place. Maybe it's somebody doing some sort of activity. Maybe it's
Might be learning a
blank.
language, or
Yeah.
learning an instrument, or
But
drawing, or painting.
you felt something that was kind of like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. Okay.
I want that. That's a part of.
Or I want
it-
to do that.
it
Or I want to
almost like
try
it-
that. Or I want to.
It calls
that.
or resonates with your identity, or your desired identity.
Right. That is what it's doing.
Oh, I love this.
So think about it that way. What have you noticed lately that you've come across, read, heard, whatever, that you've had that experience with of, yeah, right.
Okay, let's share on the mic or in the chat. That was not a rhetorical question I was asking. What are your aims? What are your targets? What are your interests? What's calling to you? And the second part of that will be, what are you afraid of?
Yeah, of course we're gonna go there.
Yeah,
Right?
got to go there. Let's share. Mindfulness. Nice.
Sourdough. I like that.
Yeah. I love it.
I love this. It can be anything. It
Yep.
really can. Sourdough's legit. It's a legit interest, okay? And that's a legit path.
Keep going. I know there are a lot of you in here who are.
I know that you have interests.
Yes,
okay?
exactly. International travel as a family, especially doing a humanitarian trip. So I did a lot of travel and humanitarian trips when I was single. We haven't made it as a family yet.
Mhm.
It's part of why I'm taking this class with you guys. You're a great example. Love it. That is awesome. And that's a big undertaking to take a family out to do that.
Mhm. Sourdough is going viral.
It's going viral. Art and painting.
Awesome.
Nice, Nancy. Binging on YouTube about traveling in Mexico
very
lately.
cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes it does that.
Mhm.
It'll take us. Now, we have to be careful because sometimes it's rabbit hole distractions and we binge on YouTube or whatever for some other distraction. But sometimes it's this legitimate pursuit. We begin chasing it. We begin feeding the desire. And that's wonderful. You start reading books on it. You start talking about it. You start noticing it. It actually becomes a part of your
Reticular activating system.
Yep. Yeah. Your RAS. Your RAS like puts out these antennas and it starts hearing things and conversation. It starts everywhere because you're being drawn to it and it's being drawn to you. It's this beautiful system that's happening psychologically, right? And we start being drawn into it. So it gets really exciting. Honestly, the only thing right now is parenting because it feels more important and time urgent. Yep. But if I had time, I would move to open an enrichment center and teach more classes. Very cool. I already teach Lego robotic and art classes. That's beautiful.
Yes.
So there's two things there, right? And I think that's a great example where there's the demands and urgencies of parenting in this example, and then some other beautiful interests and desires. And I believe they can coexist. I really do.
And I would say I think sometimes they merge. Okay. Like very often I found some of my passions that really did not seem that they could coexist ended up merging. And this for sure, like I've dug deep into parenting and education, and I'm cleaning up my office because I'm preparing for our trip. I've got like 2 bookshelves full of just parenting and education books, right? And then the cool thing is that, yeah, that's definitely merging for me now. Parenting, education, business, travel, like it's all merging in this amazing combination of called my life, right? So pursue those. Like don't, if it interests you, and sometimes you'll kind of dig into it a little bit, and then later you'll be like, okay, now it's time to dig in more to this part of it, and you'll start to see how it unfolds and becomes something amazing and beautiful.
Love it. Okay, Anna said research. Yeah, I hope all of you are very curious. Be just genuinely curious people that you just love to learn things, love to discover things, figure things out, research things. Let that be a dominant part of your life, that you're a curious researcher. I love that.
Well, on all the topics that are pertinent to me and our family: education, parenting, health, and natural healing. Yep.
Love it.
Love that.
So research, dig, find out, discover. Here's a little bit of a warning here on this one that I've noticed when working with people now for a couple of decades. Our preparation, research, learning, finding out, all that stuff can become a form of procrastination, right? Your preparation can become a form of procrastination. I was guilty of this for a long time. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna prepare, I'm gonna get ready to do this by learning about it. And that's all I ever did was learn about it. Like I never moved to that next step of like, I'm going to take action and get things done by this date.
And that's not it. It's not something you have to do with every little thing that interests you. Because sometimes being interested about something and studying about it may just give you further insight into something else. Studying about education could give you insight into your parenting. Studying about health could give you insight into education. So there's a lot of cross pollination there that can occur. But yes, with certain things, especially the ones that call to,
at some point you
have to act.
You've got to get out,
become a creator of those things instead of just a consumer of them.
Yes. You've got to get out of the passive role, move to the active role.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Okay, so you guys know, but I teach herbal classes and teach people how to take care of themselves and heal with herbs. Got a website, did all of these things, and it's just like the desire has just shut off completely. Like there was a lot of fear of doing all of those things, conquering the website, conquering the Facebook ads, and so I feel like I've faced a lot of those fears, but about 2 months ago, I'm like, I don't even care. And I don't know if it's fear or if it's just I'm supposed to head in a different direction. So I've just kind of been sitting with it, trying to be still and like, where am I supposed to go with this? But I have everything. I renewed my website and I renewed my email things. And I just there's no desire there right now. And I can't decide if it's because I wasn't very as successful as I thought I could be in doing it, or if there's some other calling, some other avenue I'm supposed to take that. And I've really been just, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go with this. I'm, you know, because right now there isn't any interest or desire. Not that I don't use it myself, but I think I just felt like, because what was never natural to me was trying to sell or trying to hit all those pain points. It didn't feel real to me. And so I think I kind of burned myself out of, I don't know how to reach people. I don't know how to make this important to them. So where do I go? Do I just sit on it? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
my conundrum.
thank you so much for asking.
That's a great question.
And before we answer a great question, we got to celebrate with you. Like high fives, fist bumps, hugs, little dancing. You did it. I was talking to you months ago about this. Like,
Yeah.
that's absolutely
It's been 2
fantastic.
years of doing this. So
That's wonderful. I hope you've celebrated that. I'm suspicious that you haven't quite celebrated your accomplishments. But
okay,
you guys,
maybe
we have
a
to
little.
celebrate where we've come from and like make it exciting, because that's one thing. I don't know what the answer is, but one
Because-
thing might be is you're not excited about it because you haven't been celebrating your wins. That's the problem with ambitious people and driven people. It's like it's always the next thing, and we don't go, that was awesome.
I just did that. Because, yes, first of all, I want to say no matter what the answer is, you did go through that. So you've done something you needed to do. And that by itself is valuable. Now, I would say from our own experience, I've done that multiple times where I moved. And this is the other thing. We're afraid of moving forward on something because we're afraid it might be wrong and that we'll end up not wanting to do that. That's irrelevant.
Mhm.
Whether or not you end up doing this doesn't matter, because you've gained the experience of having gone through it and done it, and that will be useful to you. I have switched my business so many times. Okay. And I've built website after website after website after website. That doesn't matter. All of that has helped me get to where I am now.
But she did struggle with that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, it was a failure. I built that. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I failed. I'm like, babe, look
Instead
at
of,
all the skills you
Yeah.
gained.
exactly. And now I look at it like that was my education. Like that was part of my school. It was a class I took, right? So you could just say, oh, that was my website building class for that topic, right? So what I would do is to really get clear on what exactly is holding you back. If it's just because you don't like the way you feel like you have to sell, if that's what's holding you back, then figure out a different way to sell that feels more natural and authentic. If it's,
Okay.
I really just don't care about this anymore and I think I care about something else, okay, great. Figure out what that is and then go towards that, and be okay with just letting it go. Say, okay, I did it. I learned some stuff. I overcame some hesitations, some roadblocks. Great. I will now use that in the future, because you'll have to go through the same process again with the next thing. And now you're stronger and more capable to do it. So
Okay.
it just really requires some real kind of soul searching of what is holding you back. And if it's something that's just like an obstacle a skill set you haven't gained yet, then you just work on gaining that skill set. And if it's really just the passion's not there, okay, that's fine too. It's okay to change.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not done.
Oh,
We're not done.
Great.
That was just Rachel's part.
Okay.
Because this is perfect for some coaching here. So if
I'm
you
gonna
don't
grab
mind,
some water really quick
Yeah.
while you're.
bring me some too. If you don't mind, I'll do a little bit of coaching, because I think this is going to be valuable for all of us. This actually comes up a lot in my one-on-one coaching sessions. And the question, and you already addressed it a little bit, Miriam. The question is, and you're asking, and you know, you're wondering, is it the thing itself? Is it timing? Or could it perhaps be the expectations you had attached to the thing? I guarantee you're not alone. When you chase something, we all do this. We all go chasing something and we have expectations about how it's going to turn out. And you know, if we were all together, I'd have everyone kind of raise their hands. We all look around the room. How many of you have chased something down and what happened was far different from what you expected to happen? Yeah, it's like, everybody. And sometimes, I'm not saying this is the case. Only you're going to know your own path here on this one. It's you. This is you getting in some soul searching and knowing. I've seen it multiple times. I've experienced it myself. I get discouraged. I lose motivation. I lose drive. I even lose interest in something because what happened wasn't aligned with my expectations. And so, and you said a couple of things there that I caught on to. You're like, well, it just didn't work out as well as I thought it would. And that makes me just want to ask the question, well, is it the thing or is it how it turned out? And only you can answer that. And if you can just do that honest soul searching, like, yeah, you know what? I thought I really wanted to pursue this. I guess I really don't. I wasn't as passionate as I thought I was. And that's okay. That'd be great. And you just move along as part of this beautiful journey. But you have to honestly assess, like, wait a minute, maybe I still am passionate about it, but I really am not pleased with how it turned out and that it wasn't as successful as I hoped. At that point, you reignite your love and your relationship with a thing, and now you dig into another skill set. And in fact, because I worked with you on this journey, Miriam, I know that along the way you were every obstacle, and this is true for every one of us, you guys. Every time we're trying to level up, we're bumping up against a new skill set. And so whenever we have a problem, almost every single problem in life is because we've reached the limits of our current skill set. I know you've heard us say that before, but please write that down again. Like, capture that idea and think on it all the time. Almost every single problem we face in life is because we have reached the limits of our current skill set. That is true in parenting. It's true in marriage. It's true in business. It's true in psychology and mindset and heart set and health set. I mean, it's all of it. Like, if you're struggling with health, you might have reached the limits of your current skill set. If you're struggling with one of your children, if you're struggling with your marriage, you might have reached the limits of your current marriage skill set. Right? Like, let that hit home. It's all about skills. And so in this instance, if you've gone and you had to overcome those skill sets. I was working with you through this. You're like, how do I figure out the website? How do I figure out like some social media? Like, how do I like share this? How do I make a video? Like, and you just kind of hit along the way and you overcome them all. Now it sounds like it's a marketing skill set. And you might have to lean into a new skill set and a new identity of like, yeah, I'm going to figure out how to market this in such a authentic and diplomatic way that I'm going to become a gentle persuader. I'm going to help people understand why they need this and that they can do this. Right. And so at that point now, the skill set has to shift. And this is where I'm at right now. I'm shifting to this skill set. I'm embracing the skill set and identity of really leaning into becoming an authentic expert.
Your stomach growling?
Marketer. Yeah, I haven't eaten for a long time. That's good. Expert marketer for men and for the men's masterclass that I've created and I'm launching. Right? I'm so excited about it. I've been working on it for 10 years. But now I'm going to lean into helping people see how much they need it and want it, and like how life-changing this is, understanding the value of the thing that you offer.
And in a lot of ways, I mean, this is true. This applies to our goals, our noble aims, our, anything we're trying to pursue. We like to believe that it's going to be easier than it's actually going to be.
I do that
and
all the time.
That's the case even after we go through the hard stuff. Very often the hard stuff we go through is only the first level of hard. And we don't want to hear that. Okay, we want to push through the hard and we want to be like, yes, reward.
I did it.
Now abundance come to me, everything I need and want. But that's really usually just the first level. And then there's another level. that we have to push through. There's always more levels. Okay. The levels go on for infinity. There's always more levels. And they're always a challenge because that is how we grow. That's the only way we can become who we need to become in order to achieve and have what we want to have, our potential again. It's through the growth. So, yes, celebrate.
Can you pause on
Yeah.
that and hold that thought?
Hopefully,
What
can't make any promises.
I gotta just drive this home. What is the alternative if you don't keep chasing it? If you don't keep leaning into the challenges?
Leveling up.
If you don't keep leveling up, what's the alternative?
Well,
Like, where does this go? Where does that lead if you just kind of acquiesce? This is for all of us. Where does it lead if you just acquiesce because you're like, gosh, I'm just tired of pursuing. I'm tired of growing.
leveling
I'm
up.
tired of
growing. It's just
putting
tiring.
out fires. Like every time I try to level up, it's more challenges. I'm tired of challenges, okay, already. But what's the alternative, my friends?
And I just read a Jordan Peterson quote that I'm including in my next post, that he says, what happens, you can't stand still. We think, oh, I'm just going to stand still. I'm just going to stop. You can't stand still because you actually end up going backwards. Because the world continues to move.
Life is lived on an incline. And if you think you stand still, you start sliding back.
Yes. And
so
regressing.
The only alternative to growing is to
dying.
Shrinking. And it's dying, right? Look around. The universe is either growing and expanding or retracting and dying. And so if you stop right now and say, okay, if I stop trying to grow and improve, I'm going to start
exhausting.
Shrinking. If we try to coast, there's only one direction we can all coast. And it's not to the top. Right? If we try to start coasting, we can only coast down. So yes, we need recovery. Yes, we need to celebrate. Yes, we need to be having fun. I hope you're all having so much fun you can just whistle zippity doodah all day long because you're having a blast and life is amazing, right? But in the grind, have fun.
And this isn't a, only the best is good enough, like big houses, fancy cars. It's not this type of like success we're talking about. What we're talking about when we're talking about success versus sliding back, growth versus dying, this is about you and your potential and the development of your best self. And that could be, you could go live in the woods as a hermit. Like, fine, that would be great too. But the point we're trying to make here,
so lonely and
I'm just saying, like, whatever
terrible example.
Whatever the path is fine if that's your path. But you don't know it's your path unless you listen and you follow and you pursue and you overcome the obstacles and the challenges. Like that, we're just saying that is a part of the journey. And there's no one definition of what this success looks like.
Amen.
But it all includes this aspect. You're either becoming your best self or you're becoming a worse version of yourself. Like you can't stand still and just remain as you are. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work.
Earl Nightingale one time said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
And I would say, the progressive realization of your true potential.
Yeah. And so you just pick a noble aim and you just keep moving towards it. Then you're succeeding. You're winning. But
back to this question from Miriam, that in regards to your business, which if you feel that's something you want to do, no matter what type of business you choose, you're going to have the same obstacles when it comes to, say, marketing or getting the message out. Even if you're just trying to, marketing is a part of life. As a parent, we're constantly marketing to our children.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Okay. So becoming good at marketing is a good skill to have no matter what. But the the idea is that those blocks are going to be there no matter what it is we're pursuing. We can't change the world. We can't influence others. We can't be a diplomat. We can't inspire. We can't lead without great marketing and great influencer skills of influencing, because that's how we influence and inspire others. That's how we make a difference. That's how we make a change. That's how we transform the world.
And with some of you specifically, because I've been working with you, I know that a few of you right now are actually literally working on your persuasion skills with your kids as your marketing skills. And right now you're trying to get your kids or your spouse to buy into a vision that's part of what you want to do. And right now, like, seriously need those marketing skills, right? Who's with me on this? You need some serious marketing skills with the spouse and with the kids and with the business. so it's across the board.
You need the passion for the vision, but then you also need the skills, because passion alone is not enough. It is the driving force. It's the motivator. But then when you hit those roadblocks, one, identify, am I really, because it takes so much work, because you have to gain the skills, you have to be really passionate about it, because otherwise it's not worth it. If you really don't care that much, it's not going to be worth pushing through the roadblocks. But if you do care enough, then you just have to push the roadblocks. You just have to gain those skills to get past it. So it's kind of both those. You have to decide, do I really care enough? And then if you do, push through the roadblocks. Okay, we were going.
So good.
Questions here. Do you want me to go get you a snack really fast? Like, your stomach growling here is becoming distracting. Do you want a cheese, Chris?
Intermittent fasting at its best right here, people. And I feel awake, energized, and alive. I don't know what you're talking
good,
about.
But your stomach is growling.
All I needed was a cold shower and a
drink of water.
A run through the cold wind with a 20-pound vest on. It was awesome. Okay, can I pause for a second to say how much we love you guys? And we want to celebrate and honor you, well, for being here, but for like pursuing great things. Are you hearing things?
Yes. No, I'm hearing your stomach growling. Can you guys hear that, or is it just me?
but they can't hear it. It's you, babe.
I can totally
it's you
hear
hearing things. It's hilarious. But thank you. Seriously. Way to go for wanting to be great humans and great parents and great spouses and to live meaningful lives. So many people go through life totally unconscious of the opportunity and privilege it is to like pursue a meaningful life. They have no idea. All they think about is the transactional living of like, what do I have to do next? I gotta get, what are we gonna have for dinner? And then what are we gonna do on Friday night? Like, they can't see past the weekend. And so you guys rock. You're amazing. And I pretty much can guarantee most of you don't realize that enough. Because as many people I talk to, they're like, in fact, I just literally got out of another coaching session. And it's just like, this is like, we all struggle with this. Like, am I good enough? Where he's constantly concerned about being good enough. And not only are you good enough, you're amazing. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
There's a power move. I saw it. That's me.
Okay. So in all the talking and the coaching, I'm pretty sure it was my expectations. And I'm pretty sure that I still have to conquer that whole marketing beast, but I think I am making a lot of progress in not only my mindset, but also in like filling my cup and in a lot of other areas. For example, I have to celebrate. Yesterday in the middle of the day, I just said, do your stuff, kids. And I went and took a bath and read a good book and just sort of did things for me. And that's like a win, because I always think at the end of the day, when everything's done, then I'll take care of me. And so that felt pretty huge for me.
Big win. Way to go.
That's fantastic.
Man, you moms, one of your greatest strengths is like self-denial. but it's also one of your greatest weaknesses, sisters. If I can be so bold, and way to go. Just stop and get some recovery, okay? Just love on yourself a bit. It's awesome. So good. If it's expectations, then we have to just pause, reevaluate, and say, okay, it's the next skill set. I had another coaching session yesterday. Same thing. He did all the hard work. It was amazing. I mean, he just dug in so hard and did all the hard work to get his web pages, his courses, his landing pages, his ads. He got everything up, and then he ran the ads. And yesterday he was so deflated. He's like, I ran 3 ads and didn't get a single purchase. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me about it. And the way he had done it and the amount of money he spent, I was like, bro, there isn't any way in the whole wide world you would have gotten a sale from that. I'm like, so please don't beat yourself up. Like, your expectations were way off. I mean, they were so far beyond what you did. Like, I'm like, don't sweat it. Like, you did everything. It was amazing. And he was like so deflated because he's like, nobody bought it. I'm like, it couldn't have possibly happened. Like, the way you did, like, it couldn't have happened. So don't beat yourself up. Like, there's still hope. And it was just the expectations were off. And so it seems so deflating.
And that, I mean, that's okay. We don't know. Like, that's the part about this whole process, that we don't know what to expect. We've never done this before. It's all brand new. Like, we're trying something, and we have to be willing to go out there and try it. But then what happens is, when we end up failing, like we kind of know is going to happen, it's because we had these expectations of success, right? And so we need to just be like, oh, okay, well, it didn't work. I failed. But you moved forward. You did it. You made progress. Like, all of that's a good thing. And we can learn from that and then try better the next time. And we keep trying better and better every time we try. Cool.
Okay. Love it. All right.
Let's do some more.
Couple more comments in the chat box here. So many interests: sustainable building with earth, music synthesis. Currently want to build an organ, perhaps
Wow.
even doing the underlying programming.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Writing stories that help people discover their potential and work towards that. Love it.
Very cool.
Fantastic. Keep going here. I feel so guilty of that because I have a lot of fear of doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband is opposite. So he helps me and pushes me to put it into action. Man, that right there is I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah. We're afraid of doing it wrong. And I just talked about this a second ago, but I want to reemphasize it again, because it actually is the prerequisite to us becoming our best selves. If we want to become the very best person we can and achieve everything that matters to us, everything we can envision as being important and meaningful, the only way we can do that is by first being willing
to do it wrong,
to be the fool, to make the mistakes, right? To make a fool of ourselves, because that's a part of humility, really. We have to be willing to move forward and be wrong and fall on our face, or we'll never be able to become that best version of ourselves. So it's real. It's a legit fear.
A perfect example of this, it's very common for a lot of people, and it was so true for Rachel, if I might share. The reason she didn't master Spanish, even though we lived in Spanish-speaking countries
for like 6 years,
was because
I was afraid of making mistakes when I spoke. I was so concerned about, I like to be very articulate, okay? And I feel like I have a mastery of the English language pretty well. And I hated this idea of talking to people and not conjugating my verbs correctly. So I didn't talk to anyone in Spanish.
And when you're trying to learn a language.
And so I still struggle speaking Spanish. I can understand Spanish great, but I haven't practiced speaking it enough because I was afraid of failing.
And looking
like,
when you're saying the wrong words, right? It's terrifying, and that fear stops us from our potential greatness.
Exactly.
That's a great example right there.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, thank you for being a great example. Let's see. Marissa's saying, Miriam, I get it. I've been sitting in that same boat too, and I think we all have. Truthfully, I feel like homeschooling and parenting and being a good spouse takes precedence. Yes. I haven't had a good balance when I try to pursue the things I'm passionate about.
Okay, so
that one is worth discussing.
is the homeschooling, parenting, and being a good spouse things you're passionate about, or those are feel like they're keeping you from the things you're passionate about?
That
You can
was
come
that,
on and ask or
that
leave it in
was-
the comment.
that
We'll
was
come
my-
back to it
well,
later.
that was my interpretation there. Like
That was your interpretation.
making homeschooling, parenting, and marriage a priority is more important, because when I pursue and well, let's just address this just in general for everybody, because this comes up a lot. Like, what if I chase something I'm passionate about and these other things fall apart, right? And maybe you've experienced that too. We have too, and you get out of balance. In fact, I just did a podcast about recently about getting strategically out of balance at times. But you have something else?
Well, I'm just going to say that, yes, I understand that it can, okay, both. I can understand that it can be challenging to find that balance, so to say. But I have found that if I at least devote a small amount of time on a daily or weekly basis to the things I'm passionate about, it actually makes me a better person, a better parent, a better spouse. Because the worst thing we can do is to lose our self identity in the pursuit of fulfilling those more important roles, so to say. Wait.
Right. Can I say something?
Yes,
Can I
please.
jump on here? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Mhm.
So during the whole quarantine, like at the beginning of the year, I jumped on my passions. I was like so stressed out because my husband works in healthcare and he was at a lot of risk at first. And then we all got coronavirus. It wasn't that bad and we all survived. So then I just had all of this time on my hands because we couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And I was like, I am finally going to do all the things I've always wanted to do, but I couldn't figure out how to balance. And so I grew a garden. I grew the most gigantic garden you've ever seen. And it was fabulous. Like, I loved it. I loved it so much. And I was so happy. And I'm listening to you guys and your podcasts every week, and I'm working on myself. And it was awesome. Like, it was just transformational. And then fall came and everybody's like, we got to go back to school and we got to get back to life. And I find myself in the car every afternoon driving people to their to fulfill their dreams, right? I'm helping my kids fulfill their dreams. And I'm just having the hardest time now. I'm like, I need it back. How do I get back? It's just trying to find that balance, and I'm not the most balanced person, and I struggle a little bit because of the family dynamics with my husband's schedule or lack of because of work. And so now I've tasted what it's like to live my dream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, how do I keep it? And because I haven't figured out the balance, it's like everything has just fallen apart. And we're not doing anything. Like, the teenagers are, they're working on their own. And I'm like, yeah, I need to figure out a system to check up on them. And the little kids, I'm barely doing the bare minimum with them because I want to be outside. I want to be out in what makes me happy. And there's other parts, there's other dreams I haven't pursued yet because I couldn't balance the garden and making meals. And, and I'm doing a lot of the things that you guys talk about. I really am. And it's not that I am not educated here. Like, I know some of the answers, but trying to put it into practice is just like, I've just kind of fallen off all the wagons.
Oh, thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
And I think you articulated it so well. And my guess is that everyone here can, like,
Relate,
it resonates and we
yes.
can relate to it. We're like, oh my goodness, yes.
I've been there. I felt that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. We felt it.
Yeah.
I want
Absolutely.
to emphasize something like the principle really powerfully before we maybe address some of the practices. And Rachel touched on it. You just touched on it. What's at risk, my friends? What is at risk if we don't pursue our passions and we neglect all of them for the duties, so to speak, right? And I know we're passionate about family and those are important to us, our priorities.
And
I'm just saying-
your duties.
Your duties.
I mean, that's a legit thing. We do have duties we have to fulfill. So we're not saying neglect the duties, But continue.
But if we just go through life only doing kind of the have-tos and neglecting some of those beautiful passions that you were just articulating so well, those little
And
things
getting
that just
excited
light
about.
us up and like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, you know how excited I am when I'm like playing with the dirt outside. Like those little things, if we neglect that, we end up, and I've seen this so many times, especially later in life when I meet people that are in the retirement age, they just feel like an empty shell of who they could have become.
Well, and I was going to say, we end up bitter, resentful,
Mhm.
manipulative, angry. Because think about this. What do we really want for our kids? Don't we want them to become alive about something that they're passionate about? Like that feeling that we have when we come alive, isn't that what we want for our children now and when they're adults? And I think I can answer for everybody that yes, that's what we want. I mean, the thing we want most for our kids is not, we think we want them to, have a good job and a steady career and, all those things. But really what we want is for them to feel alive,
Mhm.
to be happy, to be fulfilled. Now, the best way that that's going to happen is by us modeling it for them. And so then we say, of course, we come back to the question, well, how do you actually do that? Like, we've got all these things going on. We've got all these duties. We're quoting, what is it?
Nacho
Nacho
Libre.
Libre. Our duties. And the way that we have found, the best way we found to do this, which takes more work, more intention, but is worth the payoff, is to incorporate it into your life, to design your life so that you can do those things that make you come alive. Now, for us, that meant like we have not followed the normal path, and this is why, because we wanted to do the things that made us come alive, and that required us not taking the normal path. So we didn't do school, we didn't do a job. Like we took this to the extreme.
I
Here.
became intentionally unemployable.
Like literally. Okay. And that you may say, well, this doesn't sound like a very realistic answer. And well, we're not realistic people. Okay. We're the dreamers. And we're here to inspire dreaming in others. And the ultimate way to find room for your passions in your life is to design your life around your passions. That means designing your family life around your passion. That means designing your income around your passions. That means designing everything you do. You think of the life you want to have and live, and what that includes. For us, that was travel, adventure, learning, all of those things. And we designed our life around that. And anything that didn't help us reach that goal and dream, we cut from our life. So that's the extreme answer.
Yeah, that was like, woo! Rachel went bold, went big.
I did, because ultimately that's what we've done. And now that still requires some balancing. It's not like my kids don't do anything because it's not part of my dream. So you can't do that, right? I still have to find tech strategies for,
Like,
they're taking violin, they're taking gymnastics, they're taking all of these other
we
things.
spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars so
On their
that they
education.
can have the experiences and the growth they want, right? We make those sacrifices.
But I find ways to do it that still allow me to pursue my dreams. Because if I'm not setting that example, if we're not setting the example of pursuing our own dreams, how can we ever expect our kids to do it?
And if you don't feel alive,
How can you expect your kids to feel alive?
and how can you enjoy the journey if it's always kind of a drudgery? Is this hitting home for anybody? Man, we don't want it to be.
And it
a
may
drudgery.
just be bringing up more questions, which is fine.
which
We
it
can
is. I'm sure it
answer
is.
those.
Let me hit this though. So that's the extreme answer, and I know, and in your specific situation, husband's working at the hospital. He's got crazy schedule. You've got as many kids as we do, if not more. I think you might have 8, right? And so you got all this busyness, all this stuff going on. Like, how in the world do we actually like make this happen without throwing away everything and going off and being wandering vagabonds? I know you know the answers already are in systems, and I know you're working on some of the systems. That's awesome. I want to throw something out right now that I want you all to chew on. In our time, and this has only been recently, it's only been the last few decades, we've really gotten into this idea, they're calling it the nuclear family, that it's just mom, dad, and kids, and that we're expected just between us. And really, dad's kind of like providing, and I know in some cases mom is too, but in many situations, it's like dad provides the income, so I go to work, and mom is
does
expected
everything
to do
else.
everything. She's raising all of the children, running the household, now educating the children, which many of you are, and all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, you're supposed to do that. And everyone just kind of has, and again, this is just recently when we just don't know better. We're all just like, well, yeah, you should be able to do that. And she's
What's your
saying,
problem?
I
You
should
can't
be
do
able
it.
to do that. I should be able to do everything on my own, which isn't at all realistic or hasn't had any alignment with human history. In human history,
Well,
it
and
was all
is not accurate for many countries outside of Western.
yes,
countries,
yes,
okay?
exactly. So it's not true. It hasn't been true throughout history, and it's not true in most countries. So in most countries, you have aunts and uncles and grandparents and parents living nearby, and literally it's the village and the tribe that helps raise the children. Well, that's not happening, and we've moved all over the place. We, as mostly as American people, we've moved all over, and parents are off here, and grandparents are in care centers, and aunts and uncles everywhere, and so we're kind of isolated. And we're not
So-
going to go to the neighbor and say, "Hey, neighbor, you want to do this?" Like, we feel bad about it, and so we take on this role of, I have to do everything. And what it's done is it's robbed a lot of awesome moms of the ability and freedom to do things they really love to do.
Well, and I have found, and I felt this myself, especially when we moved back to the United States, I felt this very thing, that this overwhelm, the sense of overwhelm and almost this loss of identity that women feel comes because of this expectation that we are supposed to do everything. And that is, again, like Greg said, that's not accurate. And unfortunately, we're not aware of it because we're so immersed in it, and we look around and everyone else is doing that and we think they have it all together.
And they don't.
And so we're like, what's wrong with me? When really the whole system is broken. So that's not an easy answer either.
But here's what I want to say.
And yet
Here's
it provides realization.
Here's the invitation
awareness.
where you can start. And I want to invite every single one of you to start considering this. What are some things that you can start outsourcing?
And I would start with this. You did mention you have teens. That's where you start. What are some more things that your kids can start doing that lightens your load? They legitimately should be doing that. That's the only way you're going to find more time for you to pursue your passions, to come alive, to set that example of real living, is when you rely on other people to help, because you're not supposed to be doing it all. They need to be helping, and if necessary, you need to be hiring others to help.
So that starts with, and again, there's a lot of feelings around guilt around this. There's a lot of intense emotions. I'm talking to everybody, right? It's like, oh, if I hire somebody to come clean the house, that means I'm a failure. I should be able to do it. Or if I hire someone to come do this, then I'm robbing my kids and I'm sending the wrong message. There's so much emotion and energy tied around this. But I promise this, and I've seen it again and again and again. Yes, good. You've been
Okay.
outsourcing
I've
the
been
teams.
outsourcing the
Fantastic.
teams. That's
Like
good.
outsourcing some driving to our oldest has been a game changer. And
If you
it's
have
a
a
job.
driver.
It's one of our jobs. Like, will you start driving and drive some of the kids to their appointments and take care of some of these errands?
Teens rotate making dinner on the nights of drive
Yes.
activities. Fantastic.
Yes. And so driving and dinners, we've started. You guys know this. We order all our groceries online and have them delivered. That saves hours right there. Anybody can mow your lawn. Anybody can do your laundry. Anybody can come clean your house. We've had people, we had a friend that she just said, I want more time to do some things I like. So she hired somebody to come over and do cleaning and nanny service every Thursday for 4 hours from 8 to noon. She knew Thursday I could just do things I want to work on. It didn't cost that much money. It's not that expensive. And it was a game changer to look forward to it every week on Thursday. I could have time to just do something I'm interested in. That one thing is amazing.
So probably the most next applicable action step you could take on this would to specifically think about the things that are causing most of the pain and irritation. Like the main things that you feel like are keeping you from doing more of what you want to do. And then, excuse me, thinking up specific strategies for outsourcing, minimizing, getting help with those specific things.
And eliminating. I think all of us could find some things like what are
And
some things, what are
eliminating,
some
yes.
activities you're doing that are not giving you the productive payoff you want? And elimination right there is this key. Like, yeah, I've been doing this and I like it, but it's not really fulfilling. You cut that out so you can make space for something that really does light you up.
I was going to say, let's go on to the next one, but I do want to emphasize something really fast because I think this is another thing that, especially in Western cultures, women are hesitant to do. And I know it's made the hugest difference in my life is to say no to more things.
Yes.
I will have people ask, can you teach this class? Can you do this? Can you make this? Can you do? No, sorry. I am busy. I already have a schedule full. Now, if it's something, again, that I feel like called to or like, yes, I should do that, I'll do that. But if not, I just say no and I don't feel bad about it because I've got things, I have my priorities.
Well, and she has a mission and purpose and
Yeah.
passion. Like if you're working on one of your passions, say no to other things. Say, no, I already have appointments. Like I'm busy. I'm working on something beautiful and wonderful and exciting. Like say no a lot more. That's one of our societal problems is we feel this social obligation to say yes to all kinds of things.
And if we are seeking to find balance in our life, then we have to very clearly identify those things that matter the most to us, schedule them in our calendar. And it doesn't have to be a rigid schedule, but there's at least a dedicated time and space, and honor that like an appointment. That's how you find the balance. And then the rest of the stuff you say no to.
Yeah. Honor yourself, respect yourself more. Say, no, I have a meeting with a very important person
That's right.
that I gotta meet with. Like own that stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Let
Let's try to
us
catch up.
Catch up.
This is so good.
Well,
Well, we got a lot of catching up to do. Go. Right there. So for me, this is another comment. It's on being the most positive person I can be. Situations that I can't control oftentimes upset me and take time away from the more important things that could be positive for my family. I want to focus more on the more productive things with teaching my children and spouse and just be genuinely happy with life. Oh,
yes, that is very beautiful.
yes. That was something that came up in a coaching session this morning again, was just making sure the inner life, the inner person, the inner you is in a great spot. So all the storm, it's like the ocean, right? If there's a big storm on the ocean and it's just the waves are crazy, the wind's blowing, you just go down several meters and everything's calm and peaceful, right? So put on your scuba gear, go inside, get calm, get steady, and then check this out. I wrote this down the other day and it's so powerful. To be the calming influence amidst the chaos is one of the greatest things you can ever do for anyone. That is beautiful leadership. To be the calming influence amidst the chaos is true leadership. So get it calm here.
And I want to add to that I think that is a very worthy goal and ideal. I also want to add, though, that ultimately we want to teach our children and we want to model for our children. And I think a part of that modeling doesn't mean you have to always have the happy face on, because that's not necessarily life. Sometimes we get angry about things.
It's my life.
Except that when you get angry about something, like, when you're angry about child trafficking or something.
Okay.
That's
You
what
had
I'm
to go
talking.
for an extreme example.
It's not an extreme example. That's what you get angry about. I guess what I'm saying is that there are certain things in life that we should get angry about, or we do get
Sure.
angry about, or
Yep.
that we do get upset about because
That are just wrong.
there's tragedies that occur, there's death, there's sickness, there's whatever. When we face those things, especially things that are out of our control, we have to be able to model for our children how to manage and process those emotions and deal with them.
Beautiful.
So sometimes it's okay. I guess I'm saying, again, there's a balance there. You don't want to be this raving emotional person. You want to be more of the steady, source of support and calm. But it's still okay when you feel legitimate emotion to express that emotion and work through that emotion and show your children how to do that.
Yep.
And if where you're at right now is, dealing with the daily things of life that make you upset, well, then practice there and model there, right? And don't feel, oh, I'm a failure because I got upset. If you got upset, great. Now get control and then voice those things to your children. I felt really upset and I did this and it helped me feel better. And now I feel better. I'm in control of my emotions again and I want to apologize, whatever that is. Like, walk through that process. That's a learning opportunity and a modeling opportunity for your kids.
I got to share one more thing though.
Okay.
Because you guys, you know how much I love Isaiah. I love studying Isaiah. He is an amazing poet and prophet. And so I know I'm not trying to teach any Christianity here, but the poetry was amazing. He said, "Do we draw with joy from the well of salvation?" I'm like, yes. How many people mope around? They mope at church. They mope at home. They're doing the thing they want to do, and they're just moping. They're not doing it with joy. They go to church and they're like, we love church. And then we're at home. We're like, I love homeschooling.
I love being a parent.
I love being a parent. It's amazing, right? And we get mopey, right? We're not joyfully like, babe, we're raising 7 amazing humans,
Yes!
and they are so challenging sometimes. This is incredible. This is what we dreamed about when we got engaged.
That's
And
right.
someday we'd have a house full of little mess makers. We'd sing, mess maker, make me a mess. Right? And so let's be joyful. Let's be joyful in the amazing thing. Do you know what a gigantic privilege it is to be married? Okay,
You were single for 22 years once.
There was one time I was single for 23 years. It was
23.
horrible. And then I met Rachel. My life has been bliss and joy ever since.
That's right.
I'm going to be blunt. Some of you are neglecting your marriage. And you are not leaning into it with joy. You're taking it for granted. And that is not one of those things you can take for granted without some serious consequences and effects that will pop up very soon. Yes, life is lived with a lag, but consequences will come. And if you've been neglecting your marriage, stop now. Sorry, I had to get serious. Some of you needed that. A little bit of love right there. Parenting too, right? All right, let's go. Woo! My self-talk wants to tell me that success was a fluke. Yep. And so we get in, oh, well, that only worked that one time. It just happened. You can't do it again. So we got to get that back in.
Success has clues and it follows principles.
Struggling to watch the parent marriage high school.
Well, this is good because Anna is not alone.
Yep.
Okay. Echo concerns about this, struggling with parenting, marriage, homeschooling,
Yep.
adding something for myself. I don't know how to start. You're not alone. Totally relating to that.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing. I'm right there with you. You put it perfectly. Thank you for sharing, Anna. This is something I struggle with every day. Start to wilt when we don't move forward on what we want.
Yep.
So again, this reiterating, this is a normal experience of parenting, raising children, life, homeschooling. It is not abnormal. But we just need to identify what it is we really want and make those things the priority and the focus. And everything else can be pushed out if necessary, and that's okay. That's true balance.
And yeah, that's beautiful. And there's some questions in here about how to implement systems, how to actually make this happen. What are the logistics? How do we get it going so mom doesn't get burnt out and get weird diseases, right, Marissa? It does, because it starts to show up and
Yes.
manifest in our lives. And again, we talk about systems in here all the time. I think some of you need to choose a system that
Well,
you know something's out of control. Pick one system and master it.
that not necessarily even master it. Pick one area of pain, something that's causing the biggest pain at the moment. Maybe it's meals. Maybe it's the kitchen's a mess. Maybe it's whatever. Like, you got to take some time to think, what is causing the biggest pain? Like, what's kind of the roadblock, the log jam here that's holding back everything else from flowing? You identify that, what that is, and you implement a system for that. That's where you start. You always start with the thing that's causing the biggest roadblock, the biggest log jam. You can't do it all at once. You can't implement all systems at the same time. You have to pick one and you have to work on that, not necessarily until mastery, because maybe, but until things improve. So you focus on that one thing. Maybe it's having dinner at a certain time, or at least before a certain time, right? Because if you want to have better mornings, you need to have better evenings. And if you want to have better evenings, you got to have a better dinner time schedule. And if you want to have a better dinner time schedule, right, you move forward from there. They're all interconnected. But you pick the one thing that's creating the roadblocks and you focus on making on just that until it's better. And then once it's better, and you feel like, okay, this is under control, it's sustainable now. That might be a week, that might be a month, might be a year. Then you can pick something else. Or once you feel like it's enough under control that you're like, okay, I can think about another thing, then you pick that. So you always, you just start with one thing at a time and you focus on improving that one thing and then you move from there. It doesn't have to be a huge, overwhelming project. It's the one thing.
This is what I love about this duo combo you guys have here. Rachel is all about taking the one little step that's simple that makes you feel
You're
good.
gonna be like, do it all.
And I'm like, go people, move. Baby steps are for babies. If you have problems, change them. Jeez, let's go. And I think the balance of those two messages is great, because sometimes you need to take massive action and be like, we're done with this. We're done. We're done. This has been a problem in our life for years. Like, it's gone. There's been a mess in this closet the whole time
the closet
we've
is
been
gone.
married. No, I'm serious.
I know.
And we haven't touched. I have not seen the back of this closet for 12 years. Then you don't need it. Don't even open the box. Put it all in the back of a truck and take it somewhere. Like, let's go.
Which, no, that is a good point. And you'll know best what will work for you, because it'll resonate with you. It'll be like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. But it is good to realize that it simply starts with identifying. Again, taking action is better than not taking action. So figure out something that needs to be brought into order, right? We've discussed taking chaos and organizing it. Identify where the chaos is and work on that. That's where you start. And whether that's massive action or just one little step, it doesn't matter so much as much as identifying the chaos and finding a way to bring it into order.
So I'm going to ask you this. I want you to take action on this one. What is one thing that you can take away from today? Or maybe not even have anything to do with what we talked about. You just have one thing you need to do to bring more balance or order or passion. Just pick one thing and commit to make it happen, to create that change. It might be like, I'm leaning into my marriage. I'm going to bring life back to my marriage. It might be picking one child, like that child has become a disturbance in the force, and you're going to invest in that child. It might be your health. You're like, Dad, gummit, this extra 20 pounds is slowing me down in everything. It's gone by January. It might be the chaos of stuff and things in your house. And you're like, this ends now. It might be that you're literally doing everything. You're the taxi driver, you're the maid, you're all of it. And you're like, no,
Short order cook.
I'm not doing that anymore. Somebody else takes that responsibility or it doesn't get done.
And that actually
Go ahead.
works. I've done that. I mean, when we moved back to the States and I got into this whole doing everything and overwhelm, and I was like, I'm not even a person anymore. All I am is all these other roles. And there's no me, there's no Rachel. And I finally said, you know what? Fine. I'm done. Like, other people are going to do these things or they're not happening, because it's no longer just my job to make it get done. And that works.
Totally works.
Because when there's a legitimate need, kids rise up. I mean, there's got to be some mentoring and coaching there to help them do it. But, and now my son, who's 15, has been doing the laundry since he's 12 for the whole family, and everybody, they make meals, they clean, and it's not perfect. We're not going for perfection. We're going for livability. We're going for improvement. Okay.
Oh man, you guys, I wish we had more time to just go like this 15-year-old son.
We already talked so much.
They're out earning money. Our kids are just earning money now, and they're running their own little businesses, and they're taking care of their chores, and they're rocking their education. They're reading and learning and mastering languages, and it is so fun and fulfilling and exciting to see them thrive. And it's part of these systems. It's really beautiful. Okay, another thing in the chat box here. I've done more this year to follow what makes me feel alive. Congratulations. I hope you celebrate that. I feel like my kids have been quietly watching and with surprise and question. The more I've progressed in putting into practice the principles you've shared with us this year, the more aware I've found myself regretting the lost time, which is normal. And you can feel it, but don't stay there. And now you don't get to control the mouse. I get to control the mouse. I control the mouse. Now I look at the time left with my teenagers and I'm almost frozen with worry on how to inspire them and help them acquire the skills they need to get out and live their lives. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's actually a very beautiful thing. And you're right. And we can get frozen. We can definitely get frozen with fear. But the best thing we can do now is realize how precious the time is. And literally this answer is going to sound so simplistic. The answer is take action. Move. Like pick one thing and do it. And man, you got to lean into it. You got to act. You got to go. You have to be proactive about it. Otherwise you'll freeze and the weeks will turn into months. The months will turn into years and you'll be like, dang it, I missed my chance. So make sure you take action on it. And holy guacamole, you guys, it's December already, December 2020. Whoever thought we would make it here? This year's almost over. And part of us are like, woohoo, good riddance.
What a
year. And the others like, wow, that flew by again, like they always do. And finish this year strong and set yourself up to make 2021 your best year ever.
And again, back to the taking action. It just requires being cognizant of that thought on a daily basis and just doing at least one small thing. It's the conversations. Back to systems, even you can create systems to make sure that happens. We call them morning devotionals with the family. And that's our time just to start the morning and to have meaningful conversations and literally pick topics like that about how can we enjoy our time together? What can we do that would be meaningful? How can we create memories? How can we, how can I help you identify your dreams and pursue them and get intentional about that? It's the fear that that stops us. But when we can face that fear and take action in the face of it, that's what brings us what we want.
Boom. Okay, we're
Okay.
done. Now, hey, hold on, before we go, everyone has to do a little celebration dance with us. That was the 90 minutes of awesomeness. Celebrate you, celebrate being here, celebrate all the great you're doing. I know.
Do we get music for the celebration?
Yes, we turn on some music.
What music?
I don't know. I know that you don't celebrate you enough. I know that you don't celebrate your successes enough. I know that instead of going around saying, man, I did this well and this well and this well and this well, you go around like, I didn't do this well enough. I neglected that. I didn't do that. You got to celebrate your awesome sauce way more often, people.
Well, and I think this is this last thing we just talked about is a perfect example because you've been doing it. You've been following what makes you feel alive. You have been, okay, I'm just reading, you progress, putting into practice. Like you're surprising your kids. Celebrate that and realize that
That's the right thing.
you're on the path already. Keep doing that. And that's it. Right? Celebrate doing that. You don't even have any music.
I don't have
on here.
any music on my computer.
You're so like boring.
So lame. So you're going to have to dance to the music in your head. There's nothing. Oh, wait,
Oh,
here's
wait,
something.
what's
Here's
this?
something.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes? No, maybe that was accidental mic on.
Oh.
Okay, just hit play on something and
I
we'll see if any
Don't
of it's
even
good.
know any of these songs here.
We'll play it in Spanish. Maybe we'll get it. Let's try this one. And I want everyone to dance. You got to move your body. At least do a little head bobble. Like you gotta be in. And what is going on here?
Do you even
Nothing.
know how to
No,
play music
I don't even
on
know how
here?
to play music on my computer. That's right. Ready? Everybody just dance. Just move. Yeah. Just bounce. And turn on. Come on. Do it. Do it. I can see you. Just celebrate right now. Take
Oh,
this.
wait,
Like,
this one.
yes. It goes. It's on. Life is amazing. Huge smiles, everybody. And just feel good right now.
Dancing
Change your state.
to our own music.
I love
Yeah. Wow.
life.
Uh-huh.
This is amazing. Next time we'll get a DJ to get some music
I
because
know
my
we
computer
need a
doesn't work.
DJ.
Ah. But just do that and do it often. Do it throughout the day. Just stop, turn on some songs and dance. Just celebrate you and your awesomeness. Man, I wish we were together. I would give you all a huge hug and tell you how incredible you are. I would. Big old bear hug from me telling you how incredible you are. And keep it up. Keep being awesome. Gosh, you're going to make me cry. Love you guys. You got this. Go make today special. Oh, and the thing I really wanted to talk about today we didn't even get to
Oh, wow. Nice.
was what are you going to do to make this holiday season really special? Make it really count. Not the normal chaos and the mayhem and whatever. Like, what are you going to do differently to make these next 3 weeks really special? Really memorable, really intentional, really deliberate. So spend some time thinking about that.
There's a question here. Do you have any books to recommend for dealing with fear?
I have a book that'll scare the crap out of you.
That's kind of not the same thing.
Not scary with fear, but like drive, go, take action, like 10x your whole life. Like, oh my goodness. And well, we'll have to come back to it.
I'm gonna say, no, this is what I'm gonna say here. Well, one I thought of is The Untethered Soul,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna say I think one of the best methods for dealing with fear is reading about people who faced fear
Yes.
and overcame it.
Yes.
And that could be any type of story. That could be like one of our family movies we like is King Arthur. I don't even know what it's called, but it's the whole hero's journey type story, right? They go out, the reluctant hero, they're called, they're afraid, they don't want to do it, but they face it because they realize the responsibility they have to do that thing. And then they go through the whole process of becoming the person who's capable of having the courage. So I think any kind of story like that,
Oh,
whatever,
man.
whatever calls
Read-
to you.
Read The Hiding Place and read Man's Search for Meaning and read And There Was Light. Man, these great stories of people conquering their fears.
Any
Yeah.
great hero's journey story like that, I think in my mind, that helps me. There's certain ones that I like better than others, but those are the things that help me face fear and move through it, because we have to start thinking about this in a different way. We're not just living meaningless lives. Okay. We are on a hero's journey, every one of us. And when we see our life as a hero's journey, when you see your life as like a movie, say, and you're the main character and you're going through this process of experiencing challenge and growing and becoming better and stronger, that's how you face the fears. When you realize that your life has that much meaning. You
matters.
are the hero of your life story.
Yep.
And it matters. Facing your fears matters, just like it does in the movie you're watching. Because if that movie you're watching, if they never face their fears and nothing ever happened to them and they just live this boring life, like why would you watch that movie? It'd be stupid. It's overcoming the challenges, it's facing the fears that makes the movie have any meaning, and it's the same with your life.
Yes, The Obstacle is way is
Oh, yeah.
amazing. Mindset's
The
amazing.
obstacle is the way.
This
Yeah.
whole time I've been thinking about a book for you guys to read. It's called Gifts of the Sea.
That's a good one.
So good. Every one of you ladies should read Gifts of the Sea.
By Anne Morrow Lindbergh.
Lindbergh. It's from a mom to moms, and it is just beautiful. Yeah. Okay, we gotta go. I have trainings.
Okay.
I'm late for. Love you guys. You're the best. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of this awesome tribe. Lean into this season. Just celebrate it. Be joyful and happy, and oh man, have fun and make it special and memorable. Love you guys. Reach upward.